again, DJ Draper here with the Draper Dialogues on the American Wrestling Federation Facebook page. We hope you enjoy what we've been doing over the past number of weeks here, as we have had yet a lack continued of live AWF wrestling events. On today's show, bringing on an emerging tag team on the scene here in the AWF and in the Upper Midwest, being the Renaissance Ricky Noren and the Revolutionary Bill Williams, the Renaissance Revolution. Fellas, how you hanging in there with this new normal, to use the cliche, that we found ourselves in?
It's great to do some wrestling stuff here, DJ. I'd rather be in the squared circle with Ricky taking on some opponents, but if we can't be in the squared circle, I'm glad we can be on the Draper Dialogues with yourself.
Absolutely.
Ricky, how about you? Plenty of artwork there and other such endeavors keeping you busy?
Oh, yeah, I've been doing a little of this and a little of that. Honestly, I got back into some card collecting.
What do we got there?
That was like a magic trick. Whoa.
Check this one out. Montreal Expo sticker.
Oh.
And now it's
in Canada.
Yep.
Any gum in any of those?
Yeah. I got 2 packs of 81 Fleer basketball, and they each had a stick in it, and it still smelled okay, so I was tempted to try, but I didn't.
Yeah. Bill, I see you got the Truly there. Is that right? Is that we cheating on the regular old gimmick?
Yeah, I wanted to go to the liquor store today and get some claws, but with all the COVID craziness and the racial unrest, I kind of had to reach into the back of the fridge and take a little of what was there, and it's not too bad. Truly lemonade hard seltzer, only 1 gram of sugar, but it tastes like there's 70. So I don't know if that's good or bad. But
corn syrup, oh yeah.
Keeping those farmers in business. There we go. All right, so how about we start with this? What made you two want to be wrestlers? Ricky, we'll start with you. Were you a fan your whole life? Was this something one day you just decided you wanted to hop into? Somewhere in between? Tell us your path in regards to your path here into the AWF and pro wrestling.
Always been a fan. I started watching when I was 6. When I was a little kid, I watched Wrestling Challenge on Channel 4. And then my dad would tell me about the AWA and all the stories of him meeting people up in Northeast. And it was just natural for me to fall into with my family and everything. And then I really thought about doing it like maybe 6 years ago. But it wasn't until I saw an ad for the Academy on Facebook that they were going to open up. And it's like, hey, first class, tuition's only $1,000. I'm like, all right, I'm doing it. And that was pretty much it.
Funny you mentioned that Wrestling Challenge there on Channel 4. Didn't that air on Saturday mornings at like 11 a.m. or something? I think that was the first wrestling that we had as far as I was growing up anyway. And then I remember moving to somewhere without cable, and then all we had was old WCW on Channel 9. And cause
worldwide.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think we even had any WWF over the air. So just a fun trip back down memory lane into my old life here as a wrestling fan, but we're not here to talk about that. Bill, how about you? What was your path into the squared circle?
Kind of the same story as Rick there. I started watching when I was around 5 or 6. Big Bret Hart fan, used to cry when the bad guys cheated, and wanted to be a wrestler my whole life. Nowhere in Minnesota to train. Always, whenever you inquired to people about where to go to get trained, it was always Chicago and Philadelphia, and I just wasn't at a point in my life where I could do it. But then the Academy School of Professional Wrestling, Ken Anderson, Sean Davari, opened up, and I wasn't in the first class with Rick there, but I was in class Charlie, the 3rd class, the best class, if we were to go through the rosters. And
probably, yeah, you're right. I'll have to say that's a pretty good one.
It's good stuff. And yeah, Caranoia, JDX, Coda Jacobs, lots of recognizable names from class Charlie there.
More broadly, what do you folks, if you had to describe what the Academy has done for wrestling here in the state of Minnesota, how would either of you explain that?
Well, I mean, think about like the last show you went to, maybe before this whole COVID-19 scene kind of rained on our parade. And think about the wrestlers you saw. How many of those wrestlers were trained at the academy? My guess is at least half of them. And I've been on shows where the locker room is, close to 100% academy trained wrestlers. And so, I mean, I don't even really know what the scene was like all that much before the academy, but it's hard to even imagine it because the scene is so flooded with academy graduates now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the truth.
And you two have some unique personas here, shall we say, with both your tag team and each of you individually. Ricky, the Renaissance Noren, tell us about what or who has inspired you to drive you this far toward your path. Ooh, nice shirt there, Bill. You got that on camera. Good work.
It's a
The
shirt,
press.
Yeah.
Plug that one later. Well, when I first started training, I kind of had the idea that there's not really a good like heel or anything like that. That's like an art student or some kind of a like I was trying to portray a lot of people that I met when I actually myself went to art school. I went to U of M Morris, so it was like not really an art school, but had an art program and everything. But I met people through NCAD stuff, and there were a lot of interesting characters. And I thought somebody's got to do this in wrestling. So I just naturally just thought of that. I remember talking to Davari about it. He said it was a pretty good idea. I decided to keep my name because nobody else is named Ricky Noren that I found. So I was like, yeah, that's good enough.
Bill, how about you?
I'm a committed revolutionary, Deej. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm reading the biography of Vladimir Lenin right now. I'm about 200 pages in. I've got, the great Karl Marx sitting right here next to my desk, reminding me about the superiority of the socialist system. I've got biographies of Che Guevara and Malcolm X staring right at me on my bookshelf over here. And I want to be like them, carry on that revolutionary tradition just inside of a pro wrestling ring.
Well, if we get comments
on the battlefield,
if we get comments on this Facebook feed here, are you going to chime in and potentially argue philosophically with those who may dare disagree?
Anything to destroy capitalism, DJ.
And of course, what would pro wrestling be without capitalism, of course? So the two of you, what brought you two together as a tandem, the Renaissance Revolution? What was the spark between the two of you that just made you both connect and decide we gotta team up with one another inside the ring?
We're old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other old guy retired, ESQ. So.
Well, elaborate a bit on that if you don't mind me asking. I know that when folks think of old in wrestling, they look toward guys like Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan or even Macho Man as he was getting older, still hanging on the top. You two aren't approaching your 50s, are you?
I'm closer than I'd like to be, Deej. But yeah, I guess the way to put it is we're old to be new. Rick and I are both in our 30s. We're both, what are you, 3 years in the game yet, Rick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 2.5. So we're old to be new wrestlers. And because
we're DDPs.
Yeah, we're DDPs. We're DDPs.
Dave Batistas.
Yeah. And so that kind of affects our approach to the game. It affects our approach to tag team wrestling. We have to rely more on our brains and our lived experiences as opposed to our agility and
smarter, not hard,
that only young people have. And so I think we work well together for that reason. We're in the same ship, and it's sinking rapidly.
So with tag team wrestling as a whole, it's kind of gone up and down, ebbed and flowed in popularity, in utilization at all levels, I guess. There was a time in WWF back in the 80s where it was just stacked with tag teams, and then you had times where it was just their champions would be just two guys thrown together. What is your philosophy on tag team wrestling and your outlook for the future of having two teams square off in the ring?
Well, I think tag team wrestling it's a really interesting art form, and getting involved with them. I never thought I'd get into tag wrestling. Just kind of fell into it. But the more I learn and understand it, the more I appreciate it because there's so many added levels in the fact that there's just two extra people. Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, and chemistry. Tag team wrestling. It's you can take two good singles competitors and put them on a tag team, and that won't necessarily be a good tag team if those two competitors don't have the chemistry that it takes to work together as a team. And so Rick and I, over years tagging together here, we've kind of developed that chemistry, and that gives us an edge of a lot of those tag teams that are just kind of thrown together to fill a card. Rick
Yeah,
and I tagged a
because
lot. Yeah, go for it, Rick.
they always make those mistakes. I remember Kyle Pro and JDX did it, where one guy wants to get the big shot in there, like, oh, I want to hit my move. I got this guy, and the other guy will tag in and be like, no, I want to pin him, and then
And who won that match, Rick?
we did, yeah,
Revolution.
because they get a little too proud of themselves.
Pretty sure I White Claw misted Kyle Pro in the face in that.
Yeah,
match.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
There's no I in team.
No.
I was about to say better White Claw in the face for Kyle Pro than Cayenne Pepper, but I certainly digress. Bill, we saw you wear that shirt earlier, showing the camera the shirt rather. Suffer for art. Ricky, how about you tell us a little bit about what that means and maybe inform the folks at home or in their car or wherever they may be watching this? Guess I hope they're not watching it while driving, passively listening maybe. What is your background in art and the various styles and etc.?
I am a professionally trained wrestler and a professionally trained artist, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to art. And when suffering for art, all the great artists have to make sacrifices in order to execute their vision. Edvard Munch suffered immensely. The Scream, yeah, the expressionist master had to go through so much. He almost died when he was a kid from, I think, the flu or something. So he had a really rough life.
It was COVID-19, but it was 1719.
COVID-17-19. Yeah. Norway. Oy, it was bad. But you learn to adjust and you learn to embrace it. You realize the journey, the suffering for the art is something that made you who you are. And for me, I embrace the fact that I've suffered for art, and I want my fans to do, whether for good reasons or not. I always say that to my opponents too, because especially when you give me some toys to play with, like like it happened at ask the Orange Vite about it. I like to make people like that suffer for my art. So it's really like it's a rally cry in a way, but it's also my intention of what I want to do to my opponents.
Is that why you got into the ultra-violent wrestling? Certainly not within the AWF rings. We wouldn't allow anything like that. But the suffering for art, is that what makes you want to compete occasionally here and there, sometimes other states with the thumbtacks, light tubes, etc.?
Yes, it's something I fell into, and I realized that having that many toys in a ring really sparked my creativity. That every time I have a match that involves any type of weapons, I always end up using them in a way that I never planned. I've always found that when I do anything hardcore deathmatch, there's a lot of improvisation, and it's really an interesting creative process to put a match together with so many things you can use.
Guess that's only fitting considering a pro wrestling match takes place on a canvas. Bill, we've seen you have that connection with that cat. How about you tell us about that cat, how you connect with it, and how it influences you in the ring?
Well, Starl Marks is my best friend. She's my biggest cheerleader. I kiss her goodbye every time I leave the house in the morning, back when leaving the house was a thing. And I kiss her goodnight every night before I go to bed. When I'm on the mat in the ring, after experiencing a devastating move from an opponent, it's her who I imagine, knowing she's at home, licking herself, cheering me on with her feline spirit. It's what keeps me going. And I think it's part of the reason that I've had some success as a singles competitor, and that Ricky and I have had so much success as a tag team. Snarl Marks, she truly is an inspiration.
You know, Bill uses weapons too involving cat stuff. Don't think too far apart with that.
I've been known to use Snarl Marks's cat bell. It's more devastating than you'd imagine it would be when wrapped just right around a clenched fist.
Just as I see Tinkerbell walk into the room here of the Draper Dialogues Studios and is just crying out for attention, and I think
You let your
couldn't
cat
care
in the
less
studios?
about. What's that?
You let your cat in the studios?
Well, yes, the vast studio that we have here that we use to produce
Suppose
the
what's
Draper
so- yeah.
up in Washington County. It's you can't find it on the map even.
I'd just be afraid that she'd pee on all that expensive equipment.
Oh, yeah. Here in the AWF, we compete right up there with Tony Khan and Vince McMahon in the level of equipment that we're bringing you. Love
could
you,
just
Tony.
replace it. Just write a check, Danucci.
So we talked a little bit about each of your personas in the ring there. So how do you see your roles in the current wrestling landscape here on the independent scene in the state of Minnesota and the upper Midwest? We see you both in the ring, some unique stuff that you bring folks, as well as in the content that you produce digitally. Do either one of you want to take a crack at what you see as far as you two influencing what's happening with pro wrestling right now?
Well, DJ, I can't do a backflip. I haven't done a backflip since I was probably 13 years old, and I had the help of a trampoline to elevate me high enough into the air to where I could actually make a full rotation before crashing back into the earth. So when it comes to putting the entertainment into professional wrestling, I'm not going to be entertaining anybody with my high flying moves. And so you got to find a different route. If you're not fast and you can't jump high and do cartwheels and somersaults, then you got to find different ways to entertain people. And that's when you have to develop, or at least try to develop, a personality and find more creative ways to get people interested in the different things you're doing, whether that's cats or claws or, Ricky with his weed whackers and his murals that seem to be used against him really more than he's able to use them offensively. No offense, Ricky, but you got to work on that.
It is a thing.
You can kind of start to learn other avenues of entertainment that maybe you wouldn't explore if you were as physically gifted as some of our wrestling peers.
And the thing with that is when I 4 whatever wrestlers, when they share the ring together, it's sacred. Like they say, or what is it, Walter? The ring is sacred, and it's a sacred bond. And whenever I find out that I get to share the ring with someone like Kyle Pro, I want people to know about that sacred bond. So I'll put out a video talking about how much I want to beat up Kyle Pro, and I want to make it special. So I put a lot of work into it, and that's something that we can put together here, whether it's like making songs or Bill's a great singer, as you know.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Is there a reason we pick on Kyle Pro so much, just subconsciously?
Because he sucks, DJ.
Huh?
Kyle Pro, my first match, the Renaissance Ricky Noren. The first match was against Kyle Pro. So
I'm still convinced that this tooth is going to be gone one of these days, and that's Kyle Pro's fault.
Kyle Pro
headbutted me in the mouth during a match we had in Chippewa Falls.
He also shaved my hair off.
I'm sending you that dental bill, Kyle Pro.
You should.
One time when I was getting ready to introduce Nick Nelson, I had the microphone in my hand,
Great
and
guy.
that guy just grabbed it, and of course I resist just a little bit, and damn thing went right into my tooth, and it's all right though.
But that's on you, DJ. Don't be blaming Nick Nelson for your own dumb mistakes.
Well,
The natural Nick Nelson would never do anything to hurt anybody.
I was just trying to do my job. That's all. Is that out of bounds?
I just don't appreciate throwing the natural Nick Nelson under the bus. He's a former AWF champion, DJ. Show him some respect.
And our current TV champion, and we'd certainly love to get him on this show as well if he'd make time for it. Nick, if you're watching, we're going to get you booked here whether you like it or not one of these days.
There's no internet in North Dakota, DJ.
Oh, they got to have the satellite version at least, right?
Well, that's up there.
It's not the type that's secure enough for telemedicine or telecommuting, but it's got to be some form of connection, I would imagine.
Well, plus, I think the ground's still frozen up there, so at least let things thaw out, before you bother.
Yeah.
I think it will be the month of June when this airs, so that might be still the case. Shifting gears. And that's where we'll take a brief pause. We're going to do this to you again. Make you tune in next week, next Tuesday, right here on the AWF Facebook page. We're going to bring you part 2 with the Renaissance Revolution. Love spending time with these guys. Their opponents in the ring certainly don't with what they're capable of as a tag team, but we're going to see you back here next Tuesday, the AWF Facebook page, part 2 of the Draper Dialogues with the Renaissance Revolution. We hope you're all safe. We hope you're all well. And we want to see you at ringside in the near future. So long, everyone.